I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hola, Kiki!
Hi, Tuesday!
Feliz Dia de Muertos! Happy Day of the Dead! The dead will rise, and it's your family, and they want to come over, so feed them. So yes, we are doing the other Day of the Dead movie that's on Disney Plus, The Book of Life. Last year we did Coco. Might as well finish the setup.
Yeah, and it like we said, it's really hard to get Halloween appropriate stuff on Disney that was originally made under the Disney label, because this is yet another 20th Century Fox merger.
Yeah, apparently, but this wasn't originally supposed to be a Fox movie. Apparently, this was originally pitched to DreamWorks, who turned it down, and then they went to Fox.
Yeah.
So imagine, Universal Studios missed out on having these characters for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been an interesting bit for the younger ones who are a little bit too scared for the harder edge of Halloween Horror Nights over at Universal.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we do have an interesting drop that happened on the day we are recording this. The internet kind of blew up with a new drop from Disney.
Yeah, we got the first trailer for Lightyear, the Buzz Lightyear origin movie.
Yeah, and I woke up to every single person I have ever met sending me this trailer.
Yeah.
It wasn't even because I do a Disney podcast and I'm into Disney things. It was because of the other reason. This trailer heavily uses a David Bowie song, which is probably the only thing I'm into more than Disney.
So what you're saying is that at some point we need to do Labyrinth.
Yeah, they don't own that. That's still Henson.
Oh. But yeah, we got a little preview of the movie, got a little look at the Buzz Lightyear suit. Very little voice acting. We got a little bit of Chris Evans doing part of the line. It's kind of like at the end of Avengers: Age of Ultron, where you kind of start to get Captain America saying "Avengers."
Yeah.
But this time you get to infinity and.
Yeah, it cuts off there right at the end.
They want you to pay for that line.
Yeah, if you would like to hear the completion of this line, please send a lot of money to Pixar, care of Disney Studios. I don't know. There's not a lot of plot. The animation looks gorgeous, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the animation looks almost photorealistic as you can get, while still having the proportions of Buzz Lightyear's head.
Yeah, it's very different from your typical Pixar movie in that regard.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you made those Toy Story characters much more human looking, which is slightly off-putting, but in a really, really pretty way. It's just so pretty. It's very, very pretty.
Yeah, well, we know there's a spaceship. There may be some aliens in it. And at some point, he'll get the traditional Buzz Lightyear Star Command outfit.
Yeah, the woman in the trailer is wearing that similar kind of spacesuit, though.
It just might be the spacesuit of whatever organization this...
Yeah, that Star Command outfit. Yeah, but we do see it on another character It's just that Buzz seems not to have earned his yet.
He hasn't earned his stripes yet.
Yeah.
Again, this is an origin story.
The way he's looking at it, it's very much that.
It reminds me of Miles looking at the Spidey suit and Into the Spider-Verse.
See, I was thinking of that moment when Tony Stark does that reveal of like the upgraded spider suit right before the press conference. And Peter's looking at it like, ooh, you know,
different spider, same idea.
Yeah, different spider, same thing, but you know, it's like we both went Spider-Man for that. But yeah.
So yeah, the movie supposedly is the origin of the person that would inspire the Buzz Lightyear toy.
But here's the thing: are we just seeing an episode of the Buzz Lightyear TV show, basically?
This feels like the gritty reboot to a TV show that never existed.
Yeah, it does kind of. Like, are we seeing a movie that exists in the Toy Story universe?
Maybe. Again, there was
Is this what Andy is watching? Is Andy our age and watching this in a theater?
Young Andy, the age that he was when the first movie came out, seeing the Buzz Lightyear cartoon on TV, which they actually did make one, and now as an adult, going to the theater and seeing this gritty reboot.
Yeah, this is kind of in my brain. Like, we are all, you know, we grew up watching. I mean, let's go back to the Spider-Man thing. We grew up watching Spider-Man cartoons, and now we go to the theater and we watch the, I mean, not necessarily gritty reboot, but the more adult version of that cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
We watch the live-action version of pick your favorite Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah.
And now we're all like, so is this like Andy's version of the MCU? Like, I'm gonna go watch Lightyear, you know? Is this like Iron Man for him?
Dark
They're
Knight,
launching the Buzz Lightyear extended universe. Like,
I mean, if they bring any of those characters from the old cartoon into the movies, that would be awesome, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I kind of wonder, like, is that what this is?
Maybe. Again, we'll find out in the new year, next year, when that happens.
I mean,
no date given. As of this recording, there's been no date given to when Lightyear is going to be, just 2022.
I mean, as with most Disney things, and especially Pixar thing, is there any way we're not going to see this?
No, I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, I mean, duh. It's your stuff. The mouse has us over a barrel all the time, and we all know it. So
the mouse is a soulless corporation, but it knows how to push our buttons.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it before the show, but you know, our friend Tony Goldmark was like, you know, sent out a tweet that was like, "Oh yeah, Pixar, you think you can get me with a David Bowie song? Yeah, I'm totally gonna see this movie." Like, you got... And that's exactly all of us. All of us were like, "This is such a soulless cash grab," and there's the David Bowie song. Like, yeah, we're already crying by the end of this trailer that tells us nothing about this movie. We're so sold.
Yeah.
I mean, they know exactly how to get us, and we're suckers for it. But what you gonna do?
Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to it. So I guess we can move on to our main feature. Unless you have something else you want to talk about.
Nope, we're good.
All right. Our main feature, The Book of Life from 2014. 20th Century Fox film, not done by Blue Sky. This is film done by a studio called Real FX. And they've done a few films. Not as many as like a Pixar or DreamWorks, but a few. This is actually their third film. First film was a film based off Cirque du Soleil. Their second film was the Thanksgiving movie Freebirds. If you've ever seen that, yeah, that's the same studio. Book of Life, and they are coming out with a new film next year called Rumble, which is a co-production with the WWE. It is giant kaiju professional wrestling.
Oh, you had to say that. I was like, this is the first of their films that I've actually seen, because everything else they've worked on, I have not watched.
Well,
and then you had to say giant kaiju professional wrestling, and I'm like, ooh, that's all my things.
So that'll be coming out in February.
I mean, they worked on like Sherlock Gnomes, Ugly Dolls, Scoob.
Apparently they are working on a sequel to the Book of Life.
Yeah, that's been talked about for a while. Are they actually getting that off the ground?
According to Wikipedia, it's in development, but who knows?
Yeah. They had talked about this being like a multi-part series since before it first came out. They wanted it to be this main movie that told the story of all the characters, and then they wanted to have a movie that explored the childhoods of each of the three main characters in more depth.
Yeah, because we really skip ahead in these. They're kids for the first few minutes, and then we just zap to them being adults.
Yeah, and they wanted to fill in a story from each of the three main characters' childhoods. So they wanted to have like a, quartet of films by the end of it.
That's something Disney would have done in the 2000s, direct-to-video movies.
Yeah, I'm not even sure they wanted to do direct-to-video. I think they wanted to do them all as features.
I don't know if that would have worked.
I mean, I'm not sure if they would have ever gotten the budget or the audience for it, but I think that was their hope.
That might have worked if it was a TV series, and then you have each episode bouncing back and forth between the three. But I can't see that as a film.
Yeah, I do not think that I would be the audience for that, but
Let's talk about the person who's this kind of was the brainchild of, and who was the executive producer of this movie, Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I am rather a fan of Guillermo del Toro.
The number of movies that he would have done that never got made it makes me cry. The fact that we're never going to get his version of the Haunted Mansion movie. The fact that we're never going to get Justice League Dark. Those two movies by themselves would have been amazing.
This man's brain is just such a thing of beauty to me.
And he understands horror like very few directors do.
And not just horror, but gothic sensibility and gothic romance. I was telling you before we started recording that I was listening to an interview with an actor who worked with him, and it was actually Tom Hiddleston I was listening to talk about the movie they had done together, Crimson Peak. Tom Hiddleston said that when Guillermo had pitched that movie to him, he was pitching it to him as like, well, it's very much in the sense of like Mysteries of Udolpho and stuff. And I'm thinking like, who even knows that book? Like, who reads that book for fun? I had to read that book for like a deep dive gothic romance, early gothic literature class I did in grad school. Like, I wouldn't even know that book if I hadn't had to, if I hadn't been forced to read it for a grade. And it's like, that's just his, fun reading. Mad respect, So I just, when I see the things that come out of his brain, it's like it makes my brain tingle, because I'm like, oh, I get where you're coming from, So he was more the producer and stuff on this one, but you can see bits of guiding hand. Also, he does have a small cameo. There's a wife of a captain who died of a broken heart, and he voices her in the Land of the Remembered.
Yeah, and moving on, a little bit of the director of this movie, Jorge Gutierrez. Some people might know him more as the creator of the TV show for Nickelodeon, El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera. So another show that has a lot of Mexican influence. He worked on shows like Mucha Lucha, another show with a lot of Mexican influence. Recently released a movie on Netflix, Maya and the Three, another movie with a lot of Mexican influence. We didn't plan it to have to coincide with the drop of the movie. It just coincidence.
I don't know two of those of the projects that you mentioned, but I am a little familiar with Mucha Lucha. Mm-hmm. I caught a little bit of that.
Very buena.
Yeah, we're both wrestling fans, so I was like, oh, they're doing a cartoon that's sort of about luchadors, and
we kind of get a luchador in this movie. We have a luchador priest.
Yeah,
that has to be a reference to something.
Well, it is. It's
Nacho Libre also was inspired by the same story, I believe.
Yeah, no, so that's a direct reference to Fray Tormenta, who was a real priest in Mexico, who really did run an orphanage and made money to run the orphanage by being a luchador. Thing. And yeah, it is the Nacho Libre story, the Jack Black thing, but it really is a real story. This really did happen in Mexico. So there is that reference to we do see the priest of the orphanage, the little Catholic orphanage in the town, with the singing nuns that act as sort of the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
But he does wear the wrestling, the luchador mask. But that really is what Fray Tormenta did. Yeah.
So Gutierrez, now normally with these kind of movies, they would send an animation team to a specific country to learn about that country, learn about their architecture, learn about their land, to kind of make the film as authentic as possible. Gutierrez did not let that happen for this film. He denied his animators a trip to Mexico because, in his words, usually animators would go to the touristy parts of Mexico and not get a genuine feel of the culture. So he just told the animators to just talk to him directly if they had any questions about Mexico. I don't disagree with him on the touristy things, but it seems like you really wanted to cheap out on a trip to Mexico.
I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit better way to do that, in that guide your trip a little better.
Yeah.
Maybe rather than just send them like I'm sending you to Tia Maria's house, and my Tia Maria is gonna show you around, like, where I was born, and you're gonna meet my family, and I don't know. I'm not immediately going to call the man a cheapskate necessarily. He's not wrong. We've talked about it before, like, oh, the animation team for Beauty and the Beast, they went to France. And where did they go? Oh, well, they went to all of the touristy parts of Paris. And then they went to, like, a vineyard and got drunk. We've seen it. It's in all the archive footage.
Yeah.
So he's not wrong. At the same time, it does to me to me, border just a little bit on auteur, like you want to filter it through one single person's perspective of Mexico and Mexican culture. And even for, I mean, no culture is a monolith. Even for any one person from Mexico, that is not all of Mexico. Just like any one person from America is not all America. So I wouldn't want anyone trying to learn about American culture to be like, hey, don't go to America, just come to me for your questions. I wouldn't want them to do that about the South or Georgia or, you know, I mean, it's like, because my experience is not all experience.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, he is right. Don't just go to the touristy parts of wherever you're going.
So, as I said, Book of Life came out in 2014, and it was a movie about Day of the Dead. In 2017, Disney would release Coco, a movie about the Day of the Dead. And boy, howdy did people complain. Disney ripped off Book of Life. How can they rip it off? Now, there are some similarities between the two films. They are both Day of the Dead movies. They both revolve around going to the land of the dead. They both involved a musician who is shunned for being a musician. And they both center around the theme of family. That's it. That is literally the end of the similarities between the two films. Saying Coco is a ripoff of the Book of Life is like saying every Christmas movie is a ripoff of every other Christmas movie. So does that mean there can only be one Christmas movie? No, I want more Day of the Dead movies. I'm not even Mexican. I'm Puerto Rican. I want more of this. This is great visuals, great stories. I want more of it.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like, oh no, Day of the Dead and journeys to the land of the remembered and land of the forgotten and guitar music and the importance of family. If you're going to do a movie about Mexican culture that centers around this specific holiday, a lot of those things are probably going to show up. If you've listened to the show before, you know that we will absolutely call out the mouse when the mouse is in the wrong. I'm not entirely sure the mouse is in the wrong here.
The two movies are different enough that it's not a big deal.
I think the only thing you can really ding it on in kind of strange similarity is that the main character wants to be a musician and their family does not want that for them.
Yeah, but how many movies we've seen with that being a plot?
Yeah, but here's a hint. A lot of artists have dealt with the fact that they want to be artists and their family did not want that for them. And if you are writing a movie that also has to be a musical, which this one is.
We'll get to that.
But if you are writing a movie in which music features prominently and you want to do theme of child wants to do art and family wants child not to do art, music is about the easiest ways to express that. A lot of movies do child wants to sing, family does not want child to sing, you know.
Yeah. Let's talk about the music in this movie. This is a jukebox musical.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Not all of them. I mean, I believe the Apology song is an original song.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it. Every other song is a previously existing song. You know, Creep and I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Just a Friend.
Yeah, that one was like, you know.
There's nothing wrong with a jukebox musical. It is a head scratcher that they went in that direction. But I see it as that they wanted to appeal to the broadest audience possible. Maybe, again, to an audience that may not be Latino. And you want to reach that broader audience. Their thought was, let's use popular songs that fit the narrative of our story. And maybe we can hook the audience that way.
Well, I'm going to say something. I love a jukebox musical. I have written a jukebox musical before.
I've seen it, yes.
So, having done that, I I can say that it is a rather delicate art form, and it can be done very well. I actually love a jukebox musical when it's done well, but it does take an understanding of knowing exactly how to place the songs where they move the story forward, because a musical is already a delicate thing, right? It's a suspension of disbelief that suddenly everybody breaks into song and dance. And a lot of people hate musicals because, even more so than a normal movie, it really stretches your suspension of disbelief, right? So a jukebox musical does that even more because you already have associations with this song outside this movie. So when something like, Manolo is standing there and he just bursts into Creep, that is not the first time you've heard Creep unless you're a tiny little kid watching this, okay? So you, as an audience, already have associations with the song Creep.
At least they took the swear word out.
Well, yeah. But the thing is that, so when you use that song in the movie, you have to use it very delicately and in the plot correctly, because you have to get over all of the 1,000 other times your audience has already heard the song Creep, and keep them engaged with the plot rather than, here is some guy doing a karaoke version of Creep.
At least you only have a handful of characters singing. The characters who are singing are the ones that make sense to sing. Like Manolo sings because he's a musician, but you don't hear Joaquin sing because he's not a musician. At least that makes sense in the story.
Yeah. But I'm going to say it didn't work for me. Because it did kind of just feel like, and now Diego Luna will sing a karaoke version of Creep.
Serious, if Manolo had busted out into Wonderwall.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's just like, and now here's Wonderwall. It's like, it would have been, and some of them are just so jarring, and I think it's because so few of them are used. Like you said, it does kind of make sense in the movie that only 2 or 3 characters sing. Because so few characters sing, it makes it all the more jarring when they do. So, like, you're just watching, like, a normal movie, and then it's like, wait, why are they singing Just a Friend? Like, I mean, we're in 1800s Mexico, and suddenly we're listening to Just a Friend. It's like,
I mean, we've seen a movie about King Arthur, and the opening minutes is them singing "We Will Rock You."
Yes, but the thing about that movie is that it starts out with that. So already you're like, okay, we're going to be anachronistic throughout this movie. And then even though they don't sing throughout the movie, they do drop anachronisms throughout the movie in their speech. Like, the dialogue is, they use slang words they shouldn't. They're making jokes they shouldn't. So it does kind of constantly remind you that this is a fantasy that we're doing. This movie keeps going back and forth for me. I would have rather it gone all in. I want you singing ABBA in the middle of this. Like, just,
you have Ice Cube in this movie. Have him rap.
Yeah, well, he does kind of name drop some of his songs in this. That's the weird thing. But yeah, it's like, you've got Ice Cube, have him rap, which he never does. he makes jokes that you get if you're familiar with his repertoire, but that's about it. There's no real other reason for him to be in here. And you've got a lot of really good musicians in here that are part of the voice cast, but a lot of them aren't really used, which baffles me.
Do you want to get into the cast?
While we're here, this cast is so large, I'm not going to really do a deep dive into any of them. Most of them are so famous, you're already going to know them. And apologies to a lot of the cast who are mostly known for their work in Mexico and telenovelas. We're kind of just going to go through the ones that are really big to most of the people who would listen to us, who are primarily American and would know them for their work in America. So our main character is Manolo, who is played by Diego Luna, mostly known now for having been in Rogue One. Mm-hmm. Really kind of catapulted his career. I knew him before. He was in the Dirty Dancing Havana Nights, which fascinatingly I did watch.
Soon to be, he's going to be in the Andor series for Disney Plus.
Yeah, he's getting his own series for Disney Plus that continues the.
Well, not continues. If you saw Rogue One.
Well, pre-continues.
There you go.
but continues
expands the story.
Let's dive into the history of Andor. But he had really hit kind of international acclaim for Y Tu Mama Tambien. Really, really, really hit it big when he got Cassian Andor in Rogue One. Our main female star in here is Zoe Saldana. Whether you know her as Uhura or Gamora, you know her as something.
And she was in Avatar that is now Disney.
I always forget that Avatar exists. And then somebody has to remind me. Anyway, Zoe Saldana, she's in everything. You can't get away from her. And who would want to? She's gorgeous and very, very talented. And of course, she's in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. We talked about her when we talked about that. And as the third part of our main trio here, Joaquin, we have Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
That was the one that surprised me when I was looking at the cast. I was like, okay, Diego Luna, Zoe Saldana, Channing Tatum? Why is Channing?
Yeah, because when you think Mexican character, you think Channing Tatum.
Yeah. But he does really well as just that sort of meathead who screams his own name all the time.
Leroy Jenkins. That's what I was. Every time you said Joaquin, he's Leroy Jenkins before Leroy Jenkins.
He is Leroy Jenkins. Everybody started knowing. Well, everybody that wasn't me started knowing him for Step Up, and then everybody else who wasn't me knew him for Magic Mike, and then everybody that didn't know him for those things knew him for 21 Jump Street, I guess. And then eventually I just kind of heard enough people talk about him that I was like, okay, there's a guy out there named Channing Tatum.
He's Duke in the G.I. Joe movie, so there's that.
Which I also have not seen. This may be the first Channing Tatum movie I have ever seen.
No, because he was Superman in the Lego movie. You said you saw the Lego movie.
Okay, yeah. And I've seen Hail Caesar, because I love Coen Brothers movies, so he was in that.
Kingsman, The Golden Circle.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have seen a few Channing Tatum movies, just none that he was the primary star in. Yeah, he was the one that surprised me. But he does a good enough job with Joaquin. He's good at being full of himself and screaming his own.
He's good at playing the a-hole.
Yeah, he is. He is a downright Richard in this movie, and he's fairly good at it. Yeah, like we said, Ice Cube shows up as the candle maker.
One of the three deities in this movie.
Yeah, one of the three deities. Ron freaking Perlman as the Bulba, who is the primary villain, I guess you'd say, and the ruler in the land of the Forgotten. I love me some Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman forever. I will show up anytime, anywhere for some Ron Perlman. From the moment he was Vincent on the old Beauty and the Beast TV series, I grew up watching that with my mom. And
not the Disney version, folks.
Yeah, not the Disney version, the TV series in the 80s. Because my mom loved it, and it was one of the few, one of the things I did with my mom as a kid. We would sit down every week and watch that. Everybody had a crush on Vincent. Like, you want to talk about, like, my monster boyfriend? Back in the 80s, everybody wanted Vincent as their monster boyfriend. Like, Ron Perlman was your monster boyfriend in the 80s.
He is Hellboy.
Yeah, he is Hellboy. He is the only Hellboy. I mean, no offense. No offense at all to,
any other actor who's ever played Hellboy.
And any other actor from Stranger Things and the now MCU who may have wandered into the part at the behest of other people who are not Guillermo del Toro. But Ron Perlman is the only Hellboy.
Yeah.
We have Kate de Castillo as La Muerte, who is the ruler of the land of the remembered, and she is Xibalba's wife. She is a Mexican-American actress, and she has worked a lot with the director of this film. In fact, she is now in his latest project also playing the goddess of death.
Typecasting.
Yeah, she does it so well in this movie, though. It was really, but in America, she's been on things like Weeds and Jane the Virgin and stuff, CSI Miami. So you may have seen her on that, but a lot of work in Mexico primarily. We have this cast is filled with oh my god, they're in this. So we've got Hector Elizondo as Manolo's father. We've got Danny Trejo as Manolo's grandfather.
Christina Applegate is in this movie.
Yeah, she is the tour guide that works in the framing device and is La Muerte in disguise.
I can understand why they didn't have the same actress, because it would have been too obvious.
Yeah. We've got Grey Griffin, Vampire
you name
Warrior
it
herself. Yeah.
Vampire Warrior, Daphne from Scooby-Doo. I've never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, but everyone seems to want her to do that voice of that character from that show.
Oh my goodness. First of all, as soon as we stop recording this, you are watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. What is wrong with you? I'm sorry. I know we're a Disney podcast, but oh my god. But yeah, no, she's amazing on that. And she also took over Russie Taylor's voices on The Simpsons after the death of Russie Taylor. So she is now Martin Prince and Sherry and Terry.
More who's who them. You get Gabriel Iglesias, Cheech Marin. Oh, it's like too many to name.
Yeah, Eric Bauza.
Who's been in everything. Another Magisaurus alumni.
Yeah, but now is like all of the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, all of the Looney Tunes.
Yeah. And we also have one of my favorites popping up as several voices in here. He's Maria's father as well as Chewy, Maria's pet pig. Carlos Alazraqui, who is, he's on everything. He's in Rocko's Modern Life, and he does a couple of voices in New Looney Tunes and everything. But a lot of people our age are going to remember him as Yo quiero Taco Bell. He is the Taco Bell Chihuahua. he will always be. If you ever watched Reno 911, he was also Garcia on Reno 911. You would actually know his face and his voice for that.
We mentioned Del Toro's cameo, but Jorge Gutierrez himself has a cameo, or not really a cameo. He's playing one of the main characters, Carmelo, the big burly cousin.
Yeah, he is fun in that part that he just gets to he basically gets a Hulk smash role.
Yeah.
In that very, very fun. I do like that character. But yeah, just this cast is amazing.
When you got that Fox money, you can afford it.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, when I was going through this, I kept going like, wait, that voice sounds so familiar, and then I looked up the cast and I was like, wow. Let's talk about this plot a little bit, because we've already kind of talked a lot about it, but it centers around possibly my least favorite plot device ever.
The love triangle?
The love triangle.
Three children, 2 boys, 1 girl. They all grew up together. And of course, both boys would fall in love with the same girl. Yeah, and apparently the forces of the universe have decided that these 3 people are the most important people in existence because they make a bet. The rulers of the underworld, the ruler of the land of the remembered, and the ruler of the land of the forgotten make a bet on which of the boys will marry the girl.
Yeah, and the bet is, depending on who she marries, Xibalba will either stop meddling in mortal affairs, or he will get to rule the land of the remembered, in which it is always a party and everything is wonderful, and his wife La Muerte will be consigned to go live in the land of the forgotten, where everything is dull and gray and cold and awful.
La Muerte has to be the most forgiving wife in existence.
Most wives are.
Imagine if your significant other would come to say, hey, you're going to live in the basement and I'm going to live here in the first floor. That's just it. But even then, it's like Zabala is like the worst husband. Lying to his wife, cheating.
Not cheating on her, he literally cheats in the bet.
Yeah, he cheats the bet. That's what I'm trying to say. He's cheating in the bet. The reason Manolo dies is because of the interference.
Yeah, he gives Joaquin, his champion, the absolute Richard of the story, like a medallion that will protect him and give him eternal life and make sure he's never hurt. And he also makes it so that Manolo thinks that Maria has died and he has to travel into the underworld to find her soul, but really
it was a curse.
It was a curse, and
True Love's Kiss, and yeah.
Well, it wasn't True Love's Kiss. That's the thing. It's easy to miss in the movie. Xibalba has the 2-headed staff with a snake head on each end. And if one snake head bites you, you fall into a coma and you can be revived. If both snake heads bite you, instant death. So he has one snakehead bite Maria, and he goes, oh, she's dead, poor boy. If you want, I can send you to the land of the dead. You can find her soul and bring her back up here and be with her, And then he has both snakeheads bite Manolo, and that is his trick.
He's dead.
Maria gets kissed by Joaquin, and she comes back to life, yes. But that is not what causes her to come back to life. If you're not paying very close attention, you think it's like, oh, true love's kiss. But what happens is when he bends over to kiss her, the everlasting life medallion that is always on his coat, on his chest, touches her when he bends over to kiss her.
And that's how she comes back to life.
That's how she gets brought back to life. There's a little ding and a little green light because he bends over and the medallion on his chest touches her when he bends over. And that's what breaks the curse. It's not him kissing her, it's her touching the medallion.
I think, yeah, okay. Can we talk about Maria for a minute? Because I want to talk about this because they make her a little too perfect in this movie. I am not one to use the phrase Mary Sue. I liked young Maria, as she's kind of a troublemaker and she's always, free the animals. And this is why she's sent away in the first place, because she ends up freeing all the pigs from the butcher and causing a stampede, and sets about the events that would shape all three of their lives. Because Maria lets out all the pigs, she gets in trouble, and she is sent away to learn at a convent in Spain. Because the pigs were released, the bull was released, and this gets Manolo to use his skills as a bullfighter to tame the bull, but also has Joaquin become brave, and he ends up getting enlisted into the army.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot of coincidence right there. I understand it's a kid's movie, but one of those deities had to have been involved in that. That just doesn't all happen at once.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sort of agree with you on Maria. She was much more interesting as a kid. When she comes back from Spain, you're right that she is... I wouldn't call her a Mary Sue necessarily.
Did I mention I studied fencing? Did I mention I studied Kung Fu? Did I mention I read?
Well, the thing about reading was funny to me.
It's very much in the Beast, where
it's very much Beauty and the Beast.
She reads for fun. Can you believe?
Yeah. All of her other skills are... I do like the agency that she keeps showing of, like, initially, where she keeps saying, like, stop fighting over me. I'm not either of yours. Because when they're kids, they keep going like, no, Maria's mine. She is mine, as they're kind of play fighting.
Yeah.
And she keeps saying, I'm not anybody's. Stop it. And she does sort of retain that through the rest of the movie.
I admire the independence of Maria. It's what gets me is that it's like a bad fanfic where the character all of a sudden has a new skill set when it's needed.
Yeah, her constantly having the exact right skill at the exact right time does get very annoying. She needs to have some skill that she learns that is useful to the plot.
Like the fencing I get. That makes sense.
Yeah, her having something. And honestly, I kind of would have liked it to go back to the reading. They set that up so much that it would have been interesting if she'd have said, I read about this.
That would, I agree. If she had just started swinging a sword, like, when did you learn to fence? Oh, I read about it. When did you learn to fight? Oh, I read about it.
That would have been funnier. Or some other skill that might have been considered traditionally feminine that she put to a different use, maybe. Like, maybe she didn't learn how to fence, but she picked up one of the grandmother's knitting needles and defended herself with it or something. That would have been funny. But yeah, I agree with you on that. Maria is far less interesting a character when she comes back from Spain, and she, in certain parts of the movie has far less agency than I would have liked her to.
Everything that she does from the moment she returns home is in the name of the town. She agrees to marry Joaquin because Joaquin has become a traveling hero, and the only way he can stay put is if he gets married. And because the bandits are coming, they need him more than ever. So he has to get married. I understand that. But in the end, when Joaquin bails because he doesn't have his medal on, Maria actually becomes sort of a general and fights in the name of the town. That her loyalty to her town, I admire that in that character.
That is the best part of Maria, and also the worst part of Joaquin. I get that he's become a traveling bandit fighter. That's actually pretty cool. But that would mean, theoretically, that you go to the town that the bandits are attacking. If the bandits are attacking San Angel, you stay in San Angel. It doesn't matter if you're married or not, dude. If the bandits are attacking, that's where you go, right? That's what that means. That whole plot point of you have to marry him so he'll stay here and defend the town just seemed so absolutely ridiculous to me, because I'm like, what is the point of you being a guy who fights bandits and saves towns if you won't save the town that's being attacked by bandits? Unless you're married to the girl there. That makes no sense to me.
It would have made more sense if it had been, hey, when the bandits are done, I'm going to follow them to the next town. And then they make, oh, we want you to stay and be our protector from everybody. But that's not how they phrase it in the movie.
But also, what do you need protection from if the bandits aren't attacking?
They seem to, even before the bandits attack, they seem to have this thing on, they want Joaquin to stay in the town.
Well, then the town is selfish. Like, if you're not in danger and other towns are, let Joaquin go save them.
I'm bringing up Beauty and the Beast again. He really is that Gaston character. He even has this troop of women that are fawning over him.
There is a lot of Gaston stuff here.
Joaquin is if Gaston actually learned his lesson and didn't go full murder rage, Bella's mine.
Yeah. But he actually wants Maria for a bit more pure reason. He really does like Maria as a person. He's not just like, Maria is the prettiest and therefore she is a trophy. He always liked Maria as a person. They were friends. So he's already one step up on Gaston.
When they're kids, they make the vow that they will wait for Maria to come back. Which is a lot to say as a kid.
Yeah.
But, both of these kids, and it's never given a specific age, but they straight up say, this is the only girl for me and I will wait as long as it takes. We even get the song, I Will Wait.
I mean, it's a bit on the nose, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Sanchez family.
The family of bullfighters in one.
Yeah.
Corner.
It's an entire family of bullfighters that have been doing this for generations. The interesting thing is we meet one of his ancestors and we find out that ancestor wanted to be an opera singer, and they bond over the fact that, like, those Sanchez's, they do want to crush your dreams, don't they? And I was like, wow, that's a profound statement.
Yep, because that's the rule. No Sanchez will be a musician. All Sanchez's will be bullfighters, except the one that's a rodeo clown.
I do like that they let the one guy be the clown in the bullfighter. It's like, at least he's contributing to the sport of bullfighting.
Yes.
Like, he may not be the bullfighter, but at least he's in the bullfighting ring,
He's in the business, just not the same field.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, like I said, they've been in this business far enough back that like they were doing it during the time of the Aztecs. You know, it's like that's wow. You know.
Yeah, and they anyone who knows about bullfighting, what happens after you tame the bull?
Yeah, that was the traditional method. Recently, sadly, far more recently than this movie is set. Fortunately, we have been able to stop the more hideous parts of bullfighting.
But that's Manolo's thing. He will not kill.
Yeah. He will not kill the bull. And that's one of the things that Maria loves about him, because like we said with the thing at the pigs at the beginning, she releases the pigs because she sees them about to be butchered, and she has a moment of like, no, not these pigs, not today. And she lets them go, and she keeps one of them.
Yep, that's her pet for the whole movie.
Yeah, Chewy, her pig. But that's one of the things that makes her fall in love with Manolo, is the fact that he will not harm the animal. He'll dance around with it in the ring, he'll dodge it, he'll put on a good show.
He's a performer after all.
He'll prove his bravery.
Mm-hmm.
In standing up to a charging bull. But
I mean, like it's right at the beginning of the movie, he has a natural gift for bullfighting. It's just his passion is music.
When his father hands him the sword and says, take down the bull, he won't do it. He won't do a killing blow. And good for him.
But it kind of makes him the black sheep of the family. Like, his father's disappointed in him. The entire arena boos him. Even his grandmother boos him. Like, I knew he couldn't do it. He doesn't have the strength to do it. By her, saying that herself, that she herself was a champion bullfighter.
The thing is I absolutely freaking love the grandmother.
Is this Gray's character?
This is Gray's character. Yeah, this is Gray Griffin. She just sits in her wheelchair. I think it's supposed to be his great grandmother and not his direct grandmother. Mm-hmm. But she just sits in her wheelchair knitting the entire movie. Just snarks on everything around her, and I love this character so much.
She has reached the no longer give a damn of her old age.
Oh yeah. But the thing is that I don't think she judges Manolo for not killing the bull. I just think she simply understands that he won't.
I don't know. The way I saw it, like, there's still a bit of disappointment in there.
I think the more disappointment is when his father says, "A Sanchez man never apologizes," and she goes, "Nope, never."
And that becomes a plot point too. As we said, once he's in the land of the dead, he has to do the challenge to go back, and he has to fight the bull. Or should I say every bull that every Sanchez has ever killed. And how does he win? By apologizing. He won't kill the bull. He apologizes for, your blood was never meant to be spilled. And I'm sorry for all of the pain my family caused you.
Yeah, and like we said, this is a family that has been fighting bulls since the time of the Aztecs.
They probably invented it.
Yeah, it's who knows? I mean, I think it's interesting that, they have an Aztec in this line who was a bullfighter, because I do not even know if that's historically possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in this movie that isn't
but
historically accurate.
But we see, it's actually a really effective scene where he makes the bet with Xibalba, where he says, I will do any challenge you name me. And if I win, you have to send me back. You have to give me my life back so that I can go back into the land of the living and help protect my town and help protect Maria. And
this is a much better. The stakes from this movie are a little bit higher than they are in Coco, because in Coco it's one person that needs to be remembered. This is the entire Sanchez family.
No, it's not just the entire Sanchez family. It's everyone that will be forgotten, because the entire town of San Angel is about to be wiped out.
By the bandits, yeah.
By the bandits. The bandits are going to come in, and the candle maker who holds the Book of Life, he says that the way the story goes, the bandits are kind of meant to come in and just wipe the entire town from the map. And that means everyone living in that town will die. And that means there will be nobody to remember those people currently in the town. And because they die, all of their ancestors will also be forgotten. We're talking about generations of many families, not just the Sanchez's.
To go back to Coco, it's the same principle. As long as there is someone living in the world who remembers who you are, you will still exist in the afterlife. If no one is alive to remember you, you no longer exist. Or in this one, you go to the land of the forgotten. Same principle applies. So
well, we do see people disappearing from the land of the forgotten. So it is the same kind of thing of you kind of fade as the memory fades, and then you're just poof. I mean, it's the exact same principle we see in Coco. It's just they explain it a little better in Coco.
Yeah.
This is just, they leave it to the viewer to kind of intuit more, whereas Coco kind of hand holds it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the exact same principle as in Coco, except with an entire town getting wiped out like that, it would happen very, very quickly, I think.
Like I said, the stakes are a bit higher.
Yeah.
And we start seeing this happen. The first person to die by the bandits is Manolo's father.
And he just shows up at the bullfight as Manolo is fighting.
Poof.
And then this is the second person is the grandmother, who just shows up in her wheelchair knitting by the bull ring. And they're like, Grandma, what happened? And she was like, cholesterol. I love that the grandmother apparently just like died of a heart attack or something while knitting, like sitting in the church or something.
Here comes the bandits. She's scared out of her mind. Because of cholesterol, she has a heart attack and dies.
I'm not even sure she was scared. I think her heart just finally gave out. Like,
my only complaint about the Land of the Dead is that apparently in the Land of the Dead, you still have your ailments from life, because one of the grandfather still has arthritis. That has to suck.
Yeah, I love that he gets separated from his body, and for a while he's just a head, and he's like, oh, my arthritis is gone, and he's so happy about it. And then La Muerte brings back his body, and he's like, oh, my arthritis is back again. And I felt that in my soul. I was like, I would be so happy to just be a disembodied skeleton head if it meant all my pain was gone.
To simplify that, you have chronic illness. We've mentioned this on the show.
Yeah.
So imagine having that chronic illness for eternity in the afterlife.
Yeah, I would immediately want every person who could possibly remember me to be dead. I would come back and murder every single one of you to immediately wipe my memory from existence. I would be like, nope, land of the forgotten for me. I'm taking you all down with me. I'm not spending eternity like this. You will forget me immediately. Give me that sweet, sweet void.
So there is one moment that I kind of really did like. It was kind of a warming moment, at least for me. And again, personal issues for it was, again, it's an animated kids movie, so we need a dead mom. But it's that opening scene where they're at the cemetery and Manolo's father is talking to him about pretty much, how death and afterlife work in Mexican culture. On the Day of the Dead, your loved ones come back, and slowly but surely you see his, the ghost of his mother and the ghost of all the relatives surround him, and little Manolo saying, "I can feel them here," and it's like that's a nice little warming moment to open the movie, at least for me. And then the reunion in the Land of the Dead.
I mean, this episode is literally going up on my mother's birthday, so yeah. I mean, Halloween, my mom's birthday, Day of the Dead. It's always like, well, this is a trifecta of feelings. So yeah. I also had that kind of same. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did like that his mother did not share his father's dreams for Manolo. He was like, I became a bullfighter like you wanted. And she was like I wanted. No.
That was his father's dream.
Yeah, I like that she pointed out the other side of the family.
Her side of the family, yeah.
Well, not like necessarily her side of the family, but the
non-bullfighters.
The woman's side of the family.
Revolutionaries.
Yeah, there's some Zapatistas over there. There's all kinds of, we see just women over there doing their own thing. And she was kind of like, oh yeah, the ones that didn't have that, like, you have to be a bullfighter. We actually did other stuff with our life. Like, look at us being happy. That's what I wanted for you.
So I think that if she had still lived on, she probably would have encouraged him to be a musician.
Yeah, I think she would have very much liked that. And in fact, she's so proud of him when he starts to deal with the bull challenge in his way. Mm-hmm. Here's this giant spirit of the bull that is made up of all of the bulls that have been killed by the Sanchez's for all these generations. As he's apologizing for all of the death that his family has brought to, the spirit of the bull. And we see how proud his mother is. That he's finally righting a wrong that I think she also kind of knew was there. But maybe she wasn't able to stop.
Yeah. She even admits that her husband is a bit of a hardhead, and he even says, we never apologized, but you've changed that now. That if the Sanchez had just apologized for one of those sins, maybe this wouldn't have happened and all that.
Yeah, and she points out to Manolo that the bullfighters, they get great glory, but also they die really quickly.
Yeah, they mentioned there's no wonder there's so many of us down here because they all died in the ring.
Of course she wouldn't want that for her son. She wants her son to stick around. That to me was a very effective scene. It was a little too short because they tried to just work so much into this movie.
They tried to keep this. This is barely over an hour and a half, and I think they wanted to keep this under 2 hours.
Yeah, it's a 95-minute movie, and it's enough story for like 2 movies.
Honestly, yeah.
This movie just, it hits the ground running, and it just speeds up as it goes along. This is far too much plot for this runtime.
It feels like most of this movie, like most of the going to the land of the dead and coming back, could have been the sequel, and the growing up part could have been the first movie or something.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, there's a lot to go.
And there's the framing device with the little kids in the... And they keep jumping back to the framing device where these little kids are finding out about the story.
How can these characters die? We're kids. As if,
that was a funny line. Like when they think Maria's dead, they're like, how can you tell us a story? We're kids.
I mean, that's openly saying this is a kid's movie. How can we do this?
Yeah.
When that happens in other movies, I kind of groan, but for this movie, it makes sense, and I had to laugh at it.
Okay, so we've got this love triangle, which I just hate. It sort of makes a bit more sense because it's the subject of a bet made by people who are just watching it, I guess.
Again, these are 2 gods that are playing with mortal lives. Like, that doesn't always happen.
And once again, it's kind of set in the past. I really hate modern or future love triangles even more, but I guess when you're set in the past in like a super Catholic village, that makes a little more sense. But like, polyamory is a thing. Just do that. Like,
I don't know if that's gonna fly in a kids movie. We're not there yet.
But make it just do that. Make that a thing. I know kids living in polyamorous households. They're fine. It's fine. Kids are resilient. Kids throughout the majority of human history lived in polyamorous societies. They're fine. Humans dealt with it. It's okay. But it just, I don't know. It's the most boring and lazy plot device ever. Please stop using it. Oh, God.
I know it's a bit late in the episode to discuss this, but I do want to talk about the art design. Because the characters in the actual story are wooden figures, and we get the introduction to that through the framing device as here are these little figurines that represent all the characters in the story. That I actually don't hate that the fact that these characters all look like wooden figures.
I'm glad you don't. I think it looks just so ugly. I respect the technique that it took to do it. I understand the artistic vision they were going for. Like, I get it on a intellectual and technological level. But as an aesthetic, I'm just not there as a viewer. It's not where I'm at. I did not like looking at this for an hour and a half. Even if you're going to go for the wooden block idea, I would have maybe changed some of the things to make it more aesthetically pleasing to me personally. Even if you're going to go with that idea, I may have chosen a different art style to get that across. It's not that I disagree with it intellectually. I just don't think visually it was there for me.
So the final battle is actually pretty good. The fight choreography is pretty good. Even I loved the fact that they had Manolo and Maria dance and fight. It was actually I actually thought it was pretty clever.
Yeah, I'm always down for a good dance battle in the sense of mixing dancing and fighting.
I mean, some fighting is just dancing, just with hitting.
Yeah. I do like that Joaquin finally does figure out that he's not the guy. You know, those two are in love. Manolo has made the big sacrifice. He has come back from the dead for Maria and brought the entire Sanchez clan with him. You know.
Day of the Dead,
So,
you know, they can bend the rules a little bit. I do like how they specifically put it's one family, not
yeah.
for any other family who lived in the town, just one family. But, you know, there's that point where Joaquin looks at the statue of his father and knows what to do. Like he's, you know, he is all ready to sacrifice himself because he knows that Manolo loves Maria, Maria loves Manolo. He takes the medallion of life, puts it on Manolo, and is all ready to go underneath that bell when the bandits set off the explosives.
Yeah,
But
the bandit leader decides that if he can't have the town and he can't have the medallion of life, which are the two things he came for, he wanted to wipe the town off the face of the earth and get his medallion back because he had once owned the medallion and then lost it, and you know, there's a whole subplot about the medallion that's not really terribly interesting, although it is important to the flow of the story. He decides that if he can't have it, no one will, and he's going to blow himself and the town all to sky high. But Manolo and Joaquin kind of fight for who's going to make the sacrifice, I guess. And Manolo kind of wins out on making the sacrifice, but as he runs to make the sacrifice, we don't really see it, but Joaquin somehow puts the medal on him as he's running away.
it's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but we do see Joaquin pat Manolo on the chest. That is where I think he made the swipe.
Okay. Yeah, they really do hide it from the audience that has happened, because I completely did not see when that happened.
Because they were saying their catchphrase, no retreat, no surrender.
Yeah. Manolo runs to put the bandit leader Shakal under this big bell to contain the basically suicide vest that he's got strapped on him. And he tells Joaquin, like, take care of Maria, and he makes a run for it and traps them both under the bell. And the explosion goes off, and they're like, well, Manolo's toast. But Manolo kind of reappears with the medallion on him, you know, to be like, somehow I'm alive, and everybody, including like all three of the deities, they're like, I didn't do it. Did you do it? Did, like, who saved him, you know? And
yeah, the medallion, you know, whoever wears the medallion cannot die for any reason.
yeah, and Manolo realizes that he's got the medallion on him, and he looks over and he's like, Joaquin? And Joaquin's like, well, I couldn't let you die, dude. So Joaquin
yeah.
takes the medallion back and gives it back to Sebulba, and he's like, you need to take this, dude. We do not need this medallion in this world. Thank you. Please go away now.
And for the first time in his life, Joaquin gets injured. He loses an eye in this fight.
Yeah, he does. He loses his eye. But he does realize that to be a hero, you have to be selfless.
Yeah.
That true heroism comes from knowing you could be injured, knowing you could die, knowing that it could cost you absolutely everything, and doing the right thing anyway.
And that's what Manolo showed. He was willing to die to protect the town.
But also, Joaquin does make a sacrifice for the town. He gives up his medallion. He
His
gives
immortality.
up his immortality. Yeah. He is willing to accept grave injury. He loses a body part, as we said. He loses his eye. And he still does the right thing for the town. He loses the woman, and he still says he will protect the town. And he stands there as, best man and witness as Manolo and Maria are married in front of, all his family, because it's still Day of the Dead, so they can be present for the wedding.
And 3 gods.
And 3 gods who perform the ceremony. It does end with, a marriage and everything, and Xibalba and La Muerte are, happily married again or whatever. But, we go back to the framing device, and all the children are like, yay, that was a great field trip, back on our bus or whatever. And then we find out that the people at the museum are actually La Muerte and Xibalba, because of course they are. And then we get the weird thing at the end where, Ice Cube as the candle maker just pops up at the end, and he's like, write your own story.
Yeah, there is one thing that we didn't mention, is that when they look at Manolo's pages in the Book of Life, they're blank, meaning that he's not following his predestined path. Which I think that's kind of the lesson of the story. It's a make your own story kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's simplistic and possibly not possible for most people, but
it's fine. That's a nice little lesson for kids,
I don't know. I feel like this movie had its heart in the right place, but it was kind of all over the place.
So let's wrap it up. So I guess you already answered the question for yourself. Does the Book of Life have the magic?
I'm not going to call it a bad movie. We've definitely watched worse movies. This is far from the worst movie we've ever watched. It had cute moments. I'm not saying I'm regretting ever having seen it. I don't know. Do we have a ranking between magic and no magic? Is there a magic? This feels kind of magic.
Some magic, but not a lot of it.
Yeah.
I like the movie. I'm going to say yes, it has the magic. It does tend to put a lot into it, but it doesn't make it boring to me. And I have to give it props for that. This movie was not boring to me. So I'm going to say yes, magic.
Even though I don't think that it shares as much in common with Coco as a lot of people want to claim, if we're comparing the 2 films, I much prefer Coco.
I'll say this. Coco made me cry. This one did not. But again, this one had a lot more action than Coco did. Coco was more story driven. This one was, that. And that's fine. That's Pixar. That's the Pixar way.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I will just say, as a movie on its own, I thought it misused the jukebox musical concept. I personally did not like either the love triangle aspect or the art direction. Again, that's a me thing. I get that those are very personal things. And I thought that it tried to do too much in a too small a runtime. I really thought some story editing should have been done.
I would have cut the framing device altogether.
And I would have cut down some of the part when they were kids. That first act it runs at breakneck speed.
That could have been a movie by itself. And I get that like you said, they wanted to use that as the kickoff to a sequel. Maybe not.
It really felt like it needed to be maybe narration by one of the gods. Use a opening in the Book of Life of like, once upon a time there were 3 kids who were,
best friends and blah blah blah.
yeah,
blah, blah.
and then kind of go to them as adults.
But anyway, let's.
But the cast, this cast, amazing.
Yeah. Especially for celebrities doing animation. This is one of the.
How much I hate a stunt cast, so.
This is one of the better examples of stunt casting, because they actually do the emotions well and not wooden.
And it's because a lot of these people actually do animation. Like some of these people are not just stunt casted. Like Ron Perlman does a lot of animation. Some of these are just straight up voice actors on the side.
So that's all we can say about the Book of Life. Let's move on to next week, as we once again return to that galaxy far, far away. This was the request of our good friend Tony Goldmark. The most controversial movie in all of Star Wars, The Last Jedi.
I am so looking forward to this.
I'm kind of sad that we won't get to do Force Awakens first, but request is a request, and we will do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is kind of just the nature of the randomizer, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I
live by the rando, die by the rando. Yeah.
But it will be interesting to talk about this because I want to talk about this one so badly, and it would have taken us so much longer to get there if we'd have done it the normal way. So I'm kind of glad the randomizer just threw us in the deep end.
So join us next week for our discussion on The Last Jedi. And we will talk to you all then. Bye.
Bye. Don't let the magic stop here.
Join our conversation online on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic.
Twitter at Rewatch the Magic.
And of course, new episodes every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com.
Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.